Let's see. All right. So that's kind of some of the basics. Let me, I'm going to actually share my screen. And I also want to say one more thing. So my camera is right here, but I have a much bigger screen with all of you guys right here. So it's not that I'm not looking at you guys, it's that I can see you guys better rather than on the small laptop screen in the middle. So I try to look this way when I'm talking, but you know, it's all part of the process. All right, so somebody give me a thumbs up when they see the screen. Cool, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the course itself. What are we going to cover? What can we expect? So, we want this to be pretty collaborative. We're going to throw out a lot of stuff, a lot of information. And so I want to hear what you guys are thinking about it and think about it and what you're taking away from it. The other thing is that we tend to, I'll say the presentations, the coursework, it's kind of a living document. We're trying to make it better each time that we teach the class. And so we're interested in your candid feedback, both positive and negative. I mean, we do a couple of classes, or we do one class where we're talking a lot about the brain and what happens in your brain when you're subject to certain, traumas or events in your life. When we first started teaching that, it was really a lot of science, right? And we kind of took a look at it and said, how do we make this make sense for what we're trying to accomplish in that particular module? And in that module, we're trying to help you understand what are some of the underlying causes of homelessness or drug addiction or that kind of thing. So feedback is really important. We're going to discuss it, generosity from a number of different perspectives and, practical perspectives, financial perspectives, and we're going to throw some Bible stuff in there, right? Because we feel that that's a way that we can kind of use another source to prove why generosity is important. You should, if you don't already have it, be able to download the course handout. I mentioned that earlier, and there'll be a reference at the end of this presentation, and you'll get a copy of this in email either later tonight or tomorrow. So you'll have this to kind of refer back to. It'll have a link to where you can pick up the course handout. So that's got some good guiding stuff in it around what we're going to be doing. There's a couple of other, I'll say, written things that we're going to work through. We're going to ask you to watch a Poverty Inc. video that's available on a couple of different platforms, and then answer a couple of questions about that. It also has some of the courseware or coursework around how we're going to evaluate nonprofits. And then again, I mentioned that, that kind of the research project at the end of this thing that will be due at the end of this thing, and what that needs to look like. So, and you can get a copy of that and I'll put it in the email, but if you can always get it at the GU, givinguniversity.org website, go to the student section, and you can download the course handout there. So here's the mission of Giving University. So we want to ignite generosity, and we want to leave the world a better place. And so the vision is to, I don't necessarily have to read it, but instill, demonstrate, and promote generosity through informed charitable giving and through educating generations on the principles of the impact of giving. And so the key thing here is ignite and leave better, in my mind. So we want to have an impact. We want you to develop a passion, and almost a passion that becomes infectious, to where you're just always thinking about it. You always want to work on it. And why? Because you can have an impact on the world and leave it a better place. Leave that indelible mark. And so again, as you look at the vision, it's really to promote that generosity that can change. We really believe generosity done right can change the world. And so what we found, and I'm sure many of you have seen this, is it always done well? Is it always done right? And Mr. Bray is going to talk a little bit about that in a video we're going to watch in a few minutes. But the bottom line is the genesis of Giving University was Steve seeing some nonprofits or missions or ministries not doing things well, and realizing that How do you know how to evaluate it? How do you pick the right one? How do you develop the passion around that right one? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And so we're going to try and do as much of this as kind of learning by doing, right? So we talked about that evaluation process, and again, developing a knowledge of who you are, and again, what ignites that passion in you. And so hopefully we'll end up doing works in and through you guys. So the way we do this, the way we achieve this mission is through training classes like this one. It's applies to anybody. We've had people of all religions, political affiliations, and financial situations on trips, and a part of these classes, because again, we are going to use some biblical principles, but the reality is this is good practical advice for wherever you find yourself wanting to be able to make a mark in the world. So we don't make any assumptions on where you come from or where you've been. We really believe that this can apply to everyone. And we really want to have a conversation. So again, I mentioned this earlier, if you see something that doesn't really seem to resonate or make sense, call it out. Because I will tell you, I've taught this class a number of times now, and I know the classes where we've got a lot of stuff to cover, and I can feel the pressure, right? And I have a clock, and I'm like, okay, am I getting through everything in the appropriate amount of time, but not skipping over stuff that's important to the discussion. So never be afraid to kind of raise your hand, call it out. You can use the chat function in Zoom. I will tell you candidly, I am terrible at paying attention to that. So if you really need to get my attention, start waving or something, and we'll get it figured out. So, we talked earlier about proposing grants. So we're going to, again, spend a fair amount of time looking at how to evaluate nonprofits. Now, some of this is going to be it's a little tedious, all right? We're actually going to be looking at tax forms that nonprofits file. And so we're going to give you several things to look at and a way to score those nonprofits for you to understand if they are doing a good job, again, with the resources that they're given. You'll be actually presenting that organization as part of that research project to the team. And then again, when the whole class is over and your research project is approved, you'll get $1,000 to give to that nonprofit. So and again, once you have completed the class, you'll be eligible for one of the big international research trips. And I know Dan's going to talk a little bit about this in the future, right after we watch the video. But we've been to Belize. Trip just got back from Colombia. We had a trip that just got back from the Bahamas. We've been to Southeast Asia, been to the Ukraine, and so I think there's still I don't want to steal Dan's thunder, but we have a trip coming up to Nigeria that might have been moved. And so all of these kinds of opportunities are out there. The Belize trip, just to give you a sense of what we did, we had a group of about 12 of us, and we stayed at a mission base on the border of Guatemala and Belize. We visited 9 nonprofits and or ministries, everything from orphanages and halfway houses to school feeding programs, a school, all kinds of different things. And so we went there, we evaluated them in many cases using kind of the rubric that we're going to use here in the class. And again, we were able to, provide them some grants with things they wanted to do. The other pretty cool thing is that you will have the ability to propose trips. So I actually went on one of the, I'll say, more domestic trips. It was actually in Mexico with Dan. Dan, that was over 2 years ago now, huh? And, I ended up meeting a gentleman by the name of John Riley. And John had a passion for Belize. And coming out of that trip, John and I pulled together that trip to Belize. I'm actually working with the GU board right now on a trip to Cuba. And so that one's really, really hard. And not just because it's Cuba, but COVID makes it even more difficult down there. So you'll have the ability to propose trips if there's a part of the world that you have a passion for, maybe you've served there before, and you can bring the message of Giving University to that part of the world. So any questions so far? All right, let's see.
Let me make a comment real quick, Bill. I know it's not my time yet. One of the things I want to let you guys know is a lot of times people have friends that want to do this or do it with you or family or whatever. This is the first night. If you go through this and you go, wow, these guys are good and know what they're doing, and you got a friend or family that wants to jump in, we have a Sunday night class where they could make up the first class, this class, and then they can just get right in with the rest of us. So we wanted you to feel like there's some options there. The other thing is, I always tell people we look for church people and non-church people. We have a little more flavor of a faith flavor, let's just say, but we're very open to. We actually really like having low church, non-church, atheists, and whoever come with us on our trips. We design them with everybody in mind. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you that. Give you those options.
Yeah, Dan, keep filling because I just lost my video, so I have to go pull the.
Okay. The what I might do is the other thing. Let me do this. I think I don't know if I can share my screen right now.
No, you can't because I am. It's okay. I found it. Never mind.
Okay, no problem. So anyway, I'll pass it back to Bill, and I'll be back in a little bit.
Let's see. So are you guys seeing the browser now and the video pop up?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me make this full screen and we'll kick this off. So this is Steve Bray. He's a CEO and owner at Power Plus, the company that Dan and I both work for. And he's going to give us a little bit of an understanding of how and why GU. So let's give it a try.
Hi, I'm Steve Bray. I'm the founder of the Giving University, and I want to welcome you to the class tonight. I want to give you a little bit of background on the Giving University and how it came to be. In 2004, I went on a missions trip to Bosnia. A friend of mine asked me if I would support his ministry, and I said, sure. What do you do, and how do you do it? And I was curious to see what he was doing in Bosnia. So I asked my oldest son, Chandler, who was 18 at the time, if he wanted to come along with me to Bosnia. And so the two of us traveled to Bosnia, and we toured and saw what they were doing, the work that they were doing in Bosnia. So on the trip to Bosnia, my son and I were beginning to have a conversation about what he thought about the work that was being done in Bosnia. And he asked me, do you really want me to say? And I said, yes, I want your honest opinion. He said, well, Dad, I've seen better work done by high schoolers in Mexico than I do by these apparent missionary professionals. And I said, well, then our work is done here. Let's go. We aren't going to fund this ministry. And he said, is that what we're doing here? And I said, yeah. How would you feel if you just gave the big check to Bosnia, but you really didn't know what they were going to do with it? And that began a conversation with not only my kids, but others about that, about generosity. And so along the way, the following year, I took my second son to India, and they were doing such amazing work throughout the country. And they were helping orphans, and they were teaching the Bible, and they were helping the poor and putting people in wheelchairs and doing all kinds of work all over the place. And we found that we couldn't fund them enough. And so we came home and we really loved that ministry and began to fund that ministry. But I had sort of a heartache because I thought, well, what if my kids don't really want to do this with me over and over again? And the Lord gave me a really clear message that He wanted me to make it bigger than about my family or my kids. He wanted me to make it about teaching the attributes of generosity. So from that, I enlisted my employees Steve Namaroff as our IT head to help me write the material and begin to disseminate the material. So really, you're a part of, maybe this is the 50th or 60th class. I don't know how many classes we've done, but we take our students all over the world. You're about to be a part of what we deem as a class of conversation, an interactive class. We don't feel like we know everything. It's a learning class, and the dialogue is very important. Your attendance is very important because we can't have the dialogue. This isn't about just getting some material downloaded to yourself or doing the class online. This is about the dialogue and learning about generosity and finding your passion, and then finding out how to find good ministries and investigate those ministries. So the company that I run is called Power Plus, and we fund the Giving University 100%. We're not looking for donations from anybody. We fund it 100%. And then the students of the Giving University, they disseminate the information out. They tell us where the great opportunities are. So you're going to have an opportunity to find a local mission that you can make an impact on. And if it fits in your passion, we want you to tell us how it fits in your passion, and we want to fund that. So we're going to enlist you to help us fund local ministries and local homeless shelters and orphan care and all kinds of things that will be local. And then we have a global impetus as well. And so we will send you someplace in the world to find great global ministries or great global things that are happening, from anything from water wells to helping orphan care. So the point of this opening piece here is for you to understand the basis of this. We're not asking you for funds. We're asking you to help us disseminate the funds into great places. In Isaiah 58, if you read all 14 verses, it talks about the injustice that's happening in the world, and that it's godliness to bring justice to the orphans, to the widows, to the poor, to the homeless. And so that's really what Giving University is about. It's about finding great places to bring justice and to ensure that the money is going where it's supposed to go. And so with that, welcome. We appreciate your attendance and your dialogue. And if you have any thoughts or ways that we can improve the class, we would love to know those. So thank you.
All right, so Dan, I'll kick it to you in just a second. But so I just want to make a couple of key points. Steve's really focused on kind of developing the attributes and precepts around generosity, and then trust all of us to disseminate the information throughout the world. And I think the other thing is, this might be a little uncomfortable for some of us, or as we go through this, but it's okay to evaluate nonprofits, missions, and ministries with a critical eye, especially if you're going to be supporting them financially or with your time and talents. And we're going to talk about there's a lot of ways to support these things. So, kind of keep that in mind. Some of it, you may end up as a part of your research project doing an organization that you've known and loved for a long time. They may not score well in the way we score these things. It's completely okay. It doesn't mean they're a bad organization. It means you could do some additional research to learn more about why they are where they are. I also want to say, Power Plus, so Steve mentioned that Power Plus funds Giving University, and they really do stand behind it. If you're a Power Plus employee, you get up to 2 weeks of paid time off to do mission work. So or research trips. So when I went to Belize, I didn't have to take vacation to do that. And so I just really, I want you guys to understand that a lot of us, I think Dan and I in particular, feel really strongly that the company really supports us in this stuff. I will tell you, one of the people that is one of my go-to colleagues, she just led the trip to Colombia. And all I can tell you is I hate it when she takes trips because it makes my life miserable from a work perspective because she's doing so much, right? And so at any rate, we were laughing about it this week. I said, yeah, you can't do that anymore. But again, GU is really focused on providing those opportunities. I will say one last thing. Not only would you have the ability to propose trips, but you also have the ability to propose other grants. So if you have a passion about something, you can propose that to the GU board separately. You kind of run through the same process. But I wrote up a grant request for a nonprofit that was helping kids as they age out of the foster care system. So in a lot of states, when you turn 18, and if you're in foster care, you're turned out. And so I know an organization that's doing some great work around helping that transition. And I put in a grant, and GU not only looked at the grant, but they doubled what I suggested that we send to them. And so it really is a pretty incredible organization. So we really want you to see generosity through a different set of glasses and understand, again, where is a great place to spend your time and talent in order to make the world a better place. So Dan, I know, I don't know if you rolled through everything that you want to talk about, but I want to give you the floor here for a few minutes if you would like.
Sure. You got to let me share. You got to unshare.
Okay.
So
you should be able to.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I think you can.
Yes.
All right. Hey, it's good to see everybody. By the way, Bill, when I'm done, have everybody, I'm on the board of Giving University, have everybody tell me their name and where they're from and how they heard about Giving University.
Yeah, we're gonna do the intros right after this.
Oh, there I am jumping the gun again, but that's just how I am. So anyway, I'm going to show you a couple things. Let me get my share thing going here. It's always fun to do the shares the correct way. And here we go. It looks like I'm doing it the correct way. These can you guys see? Can you guys see a web page?
Yes.
Yes.
The Giving University page?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Anyway, we have a page on Facebook. Facebook, obviously, everybody knows who Facebook is, and everybody loves Facebook and hates Facebook all at the same time. Anyway, we love it for this part. We try to keep up on Facebook, and I always encourage the students to join this page here. And what I'll do is I'll send you the link after, by email after I'm done here. But anyway, we try to keep stuff up here so you know what's going on. We just did a trip to Colombia, and that's down in here. So we were kind of following them every other day. They would post some photos and a little bit about what they're doing. Here's right here is a group in Denver that we helped, a school, and it's kind of some stuff that they're doing. Down here is more Colombia, more Colombia, more Colombia. This is a video. We share a lot of videos. This is Nigeria is one of our trips coming up. This video is, we're going to Lebanon in the spring, so it's a little video clip. So we have all kinds of stuff. Here's a emergency response group that we help out. And so we show their stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff on here. We have about 1,000 people that are on there. And so you're willing to add, you're welcome to add stuff too as you go. So I just wanted to give you that look. The other thing is, do you see a different screen where it's Giving University?
Yes.
Yep.
This is our main web page, and there's an embedded video here if you ever want to show your friends what this is about. If you go to the little 3-bar thing up there, right up here, there's a lot of stuff for students right here. And there's forms, and things like that. And then there'll be some links down here. I think the one we just showed you is how the Giving University was started. And then there's Poverty Inc. And then we add stuff as we go. So that's on the webpage, and it's a good place to get the stuff you need. The final thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you a little video clip. Bill was sharing how we do service trips. This was one of our partners down in Baja California. And so I'm going to play his little video. We did a partnership with him where we funded him and asked him to distribute the funds based on what he knew, what was going on there, and good things like that. So this will be a little clip of that video that he did, kind of thanking us for it, Giving University. I'm going to play it for a second.
Hey, Giving University.
Is the sound coming through okay?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I can hear it.
What's that?
I hear it fine.
Dave Edmondson. We put together just a brief video to share with you how we have invested the gift.
Dave has an orphanage. Actually, it was our first trip this year. Because of COVID, we didn't do any trips for about 18 months. And so we really thought and prayed hard about when to start up again. As most of you know, COVID is just like lasting forever. And, you know, I always ask people, what'll be different 6 months from now? Now, it's kind of my standard line. But we decided to go for it and start doing trips. So we're really safe and we're really careful. And this was our first trip. Dave has an orphanage down there that he is highly motivated to keep doing. And he works a regular job like all the rest of us up in Orange County. And he just goes down there all the time. He's just an awesome guy. So anyway, this was a Mexico one. We did another Mexico one. And then in June or July, we did Bahamas from the disasters they had. And then we just finished, Bill was griping because he actually had to do some work at work. We just finished Colombia, and that's the one that Veronica led. So anyway, this is the clip from Dave.
That you have given us. We are changing lives. We are touching a very poor community. We're caring for the orphan in Baja. And because of Giving University, we have been able to do tremendous things this year. Just want to share a little bit about those things. Thank you so much. Giving University has been so instrumental in helping us care for the orphan in Baja. You know, just 2.5 hours away from Orange County is a whole nother world. It's a world where there's no child protective services to speak of, and there's a lot of people in need and a lot of children in distress. And we are so thankful for Giving University's understanding of the plight of the orphans, specifically in Baja, and the fact that they have come alongside us and really shared their passion for caring for the poor and for meeting the needs of people that can't help themselves. And it's such a privilege to be a part of it. There is extreme poverty very close to where we're at, and we feel compelled to do what we can do to relieve that. And the fact that Giving University understands that and even takes it one step further and teaches people about mercy, justice initiatives, generosity, and then gives them a tangible way to begin to figure out what it means to care for people is absolutely brilliant. So we're just so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of what Giving University is doing. Giving University truly has been the wind in our sails. When we were building the orphanage, before we had any children, when this was a prayer and a dream, Giving University came alongside us year after year in multiple ways, encouraging us, strengthening us, giving us resources and gifts to help us push us further along on the journey of opening. It's just amazing to us that an organization like this could see the potential and then come alongside us. And the fruit of what the foundation that we've laid through the years with Giving University is now multiplying like crazy. The lives of children are changing. Kids are being strengthened and nurtured and cared for and educated. And it all goes back to the foundation of us actually building this orphanage and getting it open. One of our big priorities, initiatives, mission is to make sure that as we raise the kids that we're entrusted with, we raise them to be outwardly focused, for them to love their neighbor. We want all the kids at the orphanage to be caring for those in need. Giving University has given us a tremendous gift to be able to go out into the really poor neighborhoods surrounding the orphanage and feed the poor. But not only that, there's so much benefit to it because our kids have an opportunity to put together food baskets, go into the poor areas, leave a tangible gift behind that will feed a family of 4 for 8 days. But also we're training the hearts of our children that we're responsible for to give back and to know that there are people in greater need than they were. And it's healing for our kids to be able to give back. And it also really sets them on a trajectory of this is how we do life. We are a generous people. We do practice generosity. We look out for those that are in need. And Giving University has really been the platform for us to be able to raise our kids to be generous people. As we go into the poor neighborhoods and do what we can to help people, it's not just a one-time, here's a food basket. It's a relationship where people are drawn to the local church, where people find community, actually where they find relationship, and ultimately they find employment. So when they are invited into a community that's healthy and thriving, people grow, people change because they have opportunities. And that all goes back to spending the generous gift that Giving University gave us to draw in people that are on the outside and to help them be equipped for life. We ran into a gentleman, his name is Jose. He was involved in a work accident where his ankle was injured. He went to the local hospital, but because he has no money and he's poor, the hospital did not treat him properly. And the end result is his leg was removed above the knee. He didn't even know his leg would be removed. He woke up and his leg was gone. So now this man has no way to work and no way to care for his family. One of the many things we've done because of the generosity of Giving University is we are now in the process of getting Jose a prosthetic leg. He will walk again, and because of that, he will be able to work and care for his family. Again, just one example in many of us being able to deploy the resources given to us to benefit the lives of people. I had mentioned it before. I think that Steve Bray's genius ability to see the fact that Giving University could impact the lives of many people, it's brilliant. To be able to gather people, teach them about generosity, and then be able to have them have a way to express it and grow in it is absolutely brilliant. So we applaud what Giving University does, and we're the proud recipients of that. We are so grateful. Giving University, it's an absolute privilege to be linked with your mission. We are so grateful, and we're so thankful that you've entrusted us with resources to touch the lives of many, many people. We'd like to say a warm-hearted thank you. And as you already know, the money that you have gifted us goes a long way. And because of your generosity, lives are changing, kids are being strengthened and encouraged, communities are changing, and Jesus' name is becoming famous. Thank you so much.
So anyway, there you go. That's fresh video, and it was really a lot of fun working with those guys. Dave is really, sometimes we think we're all in. Dave is super all in. So anyway, thanks a lot for letting me share that. I think, Bill, you're muted, Mr. Bill.
Sorry, the mute button moved. I think we've never done this before. All right, so what we're gonna do is do some quick introductions for everyone. We don't have too big a class, so, but again, would love for you to, I'll start off, but tell us your name, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you find out about the class? And then what are you hoping to learn while you're here? So again, my name is Bill Georges. I live in actually Allen, Texas, just north of Dallas. Married. We have 2 kids that are both in their 30s. One in Sept and with grandkids is in Durham, and the other crew is in Nashville, Tennessee. My wife's a teacher. I work for Power Plus, and found out about the course by, certainly I mentioned earlier, Dan met me my first week on the job, and heard more and more about it from my colleagues that have been through the class and are a part of the running trips and being on trips. And again, I had the opportunity to do that trip to Mexico where I met Dave, and boy, that orphanage has grown quite a bit, even in the last 2 years. And I'm here to lead you guys through this and hopefully ignite some passion within you to figure out how we can make the world a better place. Who'd like to go first?
Hey, okay, my name is Charles.
Thanks, Charlie.
Right. My full name is Charles Kabu. I live in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm married with 5 kids. My wife is works in the health sector. She's currently traveled to Ghana, where I originally hail from. And we have a church back there, and we're also running the church there. So she's gone to, have an oversight of things back home in Ghana to see how things are going and to bring us some feedback here. Over the years, I've had some experience with missionary work and also a little bit of humanitarian work as well, both in Norway, Russia, and also in Ghana. I've been a pastor for close to about 30 years. I got introduced to this program by a friend with whom I worked in a Bible school many years in Ghana, and he currently lives in Phoenix, Arizona. His name is Pastor Philip Banini. Yes, and so the things he said about this organization made me got interested, and that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. So I always love to try and find connections in small world things, but so I've never been to Ghana, but when my daughter was in high school, she played soccer for a guy named Joe Lawson, who I believe was on the Ghana national team many years ago. Yeah. So anyway, thank you. Appreciate your introduction. Who's next?
Thank you.
I'll go.
Thanks, Jeff.
My name is Jeff Jones. I live in Wickenburg, Arizona, and I'm divorced. I'm a retired letter carrier for the U.S. Postal Service, and that was in northern Indiana, right outside of Chicago. And after I retired in 2018, I moved to New Mexico and then over this area to be closer to where my son and his family live. I found out about the course from a friend of mine, and she said she had went through it, and I felt like doing mission work is really something now that I have the time that God is really calling me to do. Ironically, she has done mission work in Ghana. I think more recently she's been to Kenya. I think those are Africa, some areas that I'm interested in, and also just even the domestic courses. But I mean, she told me about the grant that we will get through here and the opportunities to go on trips through Given University, and that was something that was very interesting to me. This course about, I think it's going to be very helpful because it helps you realize, the organizations that are out there and you know, how good of a steward they are with your money. But yeah, it's the mission work too that I just really want to get involved in. So
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that.
sure.
Blanca, you up?
Sure. My name is Blanca. I'm married with 5 kids. I work for a nonprofit in my town, and we focus on family services. And I heard about Giving University through our church. My kids have gone on a mission trip, and they're getting ready to go to Uganda to do a second mission trip. So
What town are you from?
I'm from Southern California,
Oh.
Hemet.
Okay.
So I do want to get involved in, I've personally never gone on a mission trip, but that's something that I do want to. I was born in Nicaragua, so I do hope to hopefully do a mission there. And I think that's it.
Great. Welcome. Thank you. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
I can try to go next, but my connection might be really bad. Can you hear me?
Can hear you great, Emily. Go ahead.
Awesome. I'm going to be on campus next time, so I'll actually have Wi-Fi. I think that'll help. So I'm Emily. I am currently a university student at a place called Brigham Young University. I'm from a town in Idaho, though, that's about 90 minutes south of Yellowstone. So that kind of puts it into perspective a little bit. And I heard about this through my friend Anya Cyril that went through the program and just raves about what you guys do. And I guess over recent years, nonprofit and humanitarian work is something I've come to be really passionate about. I think few things feel as good as stop worrying about your own problems and helping someone else out with theirs. So I've been able to do things in Cambodia, Peru, a little bit in California. And I'm really excited about being able to learn a bit more about doing good going into the future through this. So I'd say that's the biggest reason I'm here. I'm excited to have some new experiences and be able to help some people out. That's my goal.
Thanks, Emily. That's great introduction. Thank you. Welcome to the class. All right, let's see. Marco, are you up?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my name is Marco. I'm from California, it's Palm Springs, California. I work for Private Plus as well. I'm 23 years old, originally from Mexico, and I've been here just for 1.5 years. And what else? I found out this course from my manager because I don't know his channel.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he hasn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think I wasn't Chano on our trip to Mexico, Dan?
I guess, yeah, Mexico, and he told me he went to Russia, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, John went to Russia and Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's why he motivated me to do this. And why are I doing here? Because this is my first time doing this, so I want to make sure if this is for me, how I feel doing this, and be able to evaluate more the non-profit companies.
Right. Well, we're glad you're here. And and are you in Southern California now?
It's Palm Springs, California.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Very good. Well, again, welcome. Maybe I'll see you one of these days out in the field. All right. Antonio, you're going to bring up the rear here. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, my name's Antonio, last name Torres. I'm also an employee at Power Plus. I'm an electrical installer in Sacramento. And a reason why that I wanted to participate in this is because I know inside I'm a giver, and I haven't done it often, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am and figure out a little bit more about myself. And I feel like the best way to to find myself is to give myself in the service of others and see how I can make an impact and of people of need, and that's and also Daniel, he gave us a presentation on Grad University, and it really caught my attention, and I just felt like it's something I should participate in.
That's great. Well, so welcome. So, I think hopefully we can help ignite that passion and, start, I think one of the things I talk a lot about this, right? And how do we find out what we're really passionate about? And the way you do that is to kind of dig in and try it, right? And so the first thing you find might not be the thing you're most passionate about. Over the years, we've had an opportunity to do a number of mission trips around the world. I'd actually been to Cuba, been to Brazil, to the Amazon a number of times. And so that was a kind of a season or a part of our lives. And then, we started looking for some other things. And so now we're more focused on, honestly, single moms in a North Dallas suburb, moms living in her car with their kids kind of thing, and what we can do to help a couple of organizations here in town around that. But, your passion is something that we're going to help ignite it, we hope, and help you identify it. And you'll know it when you see it, when it's something that, again, you just can't stop talking about. But thank you, everyone, for introducing yourself. Dan, I know you're not going to be here all the time. Do you want to introduce yourself? I don't want to leave you out.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Dyke. I'm on the board of Giving University. I help plan a lot of our trips, probably 3/4 of them. And then I'm the national IT manager. So I have a unique position in the company. I go to a lot of offices and I'm not anybody's boss. And so I end up kind of sharing a little bit about Giving University because we don't force people to take it. We keep it pretty separate, as much separate as we can. Anyway, I try to get people to class and get them out there. And I say, we're taking care of the whole thing for you, including your time off. And so that's what I do. I've taught a couple times. I'm the backup if Bill has something come up. I'm the backup teacher. And I'm teaching a Sunday night class starting this Sunday also. So I've been on Mexico, a bunch of times. I've been to Cambodia. We're working maybe on another Cambodia trip next year. I've been to Serbia, Hungary, and I've been, I'm going to Lebanon in March. So just a few places I've been. So I've been around a lot of different places. Anyway, it's nice. I'm glad you're all here. We got quite a variety. I always tell people, when I tell people about this, it's like Bill was saying, when I first told Bill about this, everybody thinks you're kind of, sure, everything's paid for and you get trips and airline fares and hotel bills paid for and all that. But I said, well, just come and check it out. That's all you can do. So anyway, we're happy to do this in today's world with the chaos that's going on. It's kind of nice to have a center and a place where you can kind of give away some of yourself.
Thanks, Dan. So we're gonna keep going here. We're gonna jump right in. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna define, or the next thing we're gonna do is define generosity. So a little bit of ask you to do a little bit of work here and a little bit of participation, but take a moment and write down.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Okay. So question. So for me, kind of understanding what Power Plus is and what the company does and what it's about, because I noticed there's a lot of tie-in with the Giving University, of course, and the employees.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Power Plus, the motto of the company is power when you need it, where you need it. And so we basically are around temporary power generation, and then service and maintenance. So we do things like provide temporary power services. The way I explain it to customers is if you're doing development in California, it might take Edison a couple of years to get power to your site. And so you can either wait, which obviously costs people a lot of money, or you can use a company like us, Power Plus, to extend the grid to your job site. So we provide temporary utility power. I actually work on the service and maintenance side. So we are a national provider of generator service and maintenance for places that need generators, hospitals, data centers, pretty much big generators, commercial generators. And then we also rent generators for, like, for example, for disaster situation like Hurricane Ida or something like that. So again, we're pretty much around temporary power, whether it's, coming from the grid or diesel generators that get deployed. So, so a couple of the guys are working, like Marco and Antonio work out in the field. And again, I'm a, kind of your basic sales guy. So.
Great.
So thanks for
Thank
that
you.
question. So so rolling back. So take a second and write down your best definition of generosity. And then if some of you have seen that and have already written it down, if you want to, when you're ready to share, let me know. What's generosity to you?
If my connection still works, I can share.
Yeah, please.
I just wrote that generosity is giving of yourself, your time, your resources, basically just out of the goodness of your heart. You don't really have some ulterior motive, something you're trying to gain from whoever you're helping out.
Excellent. Excellent. So Emily, what are you studying, by the way?
Oh yeah. I'm wanting to do public relations. It's kind of within the comms department.
Okay.
And then minor in global business and literacy. But my end goal
Okay.
would be to do something in like public affairs where I can do some good on a business scale. So
Got it. Got it. Thank you. Who else wants to share? What is generosity?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
So my little generosity to me is just giving, like, basically giving kindness to people of need, and not doing it for you're just doing it out of the kindness of your own heart, and that's my basic answer for generosity.
I like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I guess I would just add, not expecting anything in return, of course, I feel
Great
like
point.
what the other ones I've already said is the same thing that I pretty much, wrote down, but yeah.
All right. So we have a definition in the class, and I think you guys will appreciate this. So this is what we'll work off of, as we go through this. But it's freely giving or sharing things we value for the benefit of others. Right. So not asking for anything in return. You're giving it because you're giving it freely. Because you want to, I could say I give my tax money to the tax man, but that's not really freely given, right? Things you value. And so, it's easy for us to focus on money, and, because it's in the front of everything that we do every day, but it's not just money, it's talent and it's time, right? You guys are investing time to be here in this class, and then for the benefit of others. So basically, and so the definition here is going to get a little bit more specific, but we're going to talk about generosity being outside of your immediate family. And we'll talk about some examples in just a little bit. And we're also going to talk about it as it relates to people. And so when we'll talk about this a little bit later on when we start talking about the research project, but you guys probably heard the dog barking in the background. We foster dogs. Dogs are great, but they're not people. So we're going to ask, as a part of this research project, that you focus on organizations that are focused on meeting the needs of people as a part of this. So, and there's really a whole spectrum of giving, right? And so the begrudging giver, the willing giver, the cheerful giver, and the eager giver. So, you know, where are you on that spectrum today? Doesn't demand a couple other things, right? It doesn't demand joy, you know. And we're going to talk about this as well. Are you giving in order for recognition, right, or to obtain something? If you do a golf tournament with a corporation, you know, if you give a big donation, they put your name on a hole or something like that. And it doesn't necessarily always demand sacrifice. It can, and in many cases it will, but it's not a prerequisite. So we're going to talk a little bit about generosity versus giving. And so think about the difference there. Anybody have any thoughts on giving versus generosity? So when we talk about giving, giving could be things that are not necessarily valuable to you. And so, you know, an example of this might be when we downsized a few years ago, and we had truckloads of stuff that we gave away. If the nonprofit didn't want it, the next stop in the truck was to the dump. Right. So is that really, I mean, so we were giving it, but I don't necessarily know that it was valuable or that we were necessarily being generous. You know, giving could be in some ways mandatory. You know, if you were a kid in church and your parents gave you $1 and they wanted you to throw it in the plate, that's kind of mandatory giving. That's not necessarily being generous. Might be creating a habit. That's fine. We'll talk more about that, but it might not be generosity. And so generosity is always voluntary. And so one of the other things I'd like to talk a little bit about is differentiating between generosity and service. So a lot of this class is going to talk about the financial piece, about money, but really service, giving of your time and or your talents, is just as important as giving money. And so just think about, I'll say, open your mind to that concept that, you know, not everybody is going to give, you know, thousands of dollars, but you can spend thousands of hours, right? I guess is one way to look at that. And so we're going to really focus on being able to do both. But again, a lot of this class, especially as we get to the evaluation piece, is going to be talking about the financial aspects of it. Any comments? Questions?
Bill, I do have another question.
Yeah.
This is kind of backtracking, but so I printed out the course handout before and I've been trying to kind of fill in, but you know, the mission, how Giving University accomplishes the mission 4 ways. I actually only got the first 2, so I don't know if we went over the other 2 or I just
Let's see.
missed that somehow.
Let me go back to my notes here.
Okay.
So sometimes I do go over things pretty quickly. Yeah, so it's really, you know, the training classes, and then allowing you to propose grants to organizations, providing funds. You know, again, we accomplished the mission by providing funds to go on the research trips, and then modeling generosity is the 4th one through additional grants. So I kind of gave you the example of you know, that nonprofit that the GU funded a grant for kids aging out of foster care.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Sorry to make a backtrack there.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I think I should know it off the top of my head, but I don't remember what I did yesterday, so we'll just leave that at that. All right. All right. So generosity versus giving. All right. So let's do a little quiz. Think about this for a little bit. If we think of the GU definition of generosity, which of these matches the definition of generosity. Dad buys a new BMW for his son. Dentist fills cavities for the poor for free. A family donates all the stuff that didn't sell in the garage sale. And a man donates his old cassette tapes to the poor in Jamaica.
The dentist fills cavities for the poor for free.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an easy one, right? Because he's using his time and skill. I mean, he could be filling cavities and charging patients or insurance companies. What about dad who buys a car for his son? Maybe not a BMW. I mean, you know, I'm not really a BMW guy, but you know, that's kind of cool. Is he being generous?
It's more like
Is he
giving.
He's giving. Yeah, I would say he's giving. So again, this might be splitting hairs a little bit, but what we're going to say is, look, we do things for our families, right? So it's not necessarily our definition of generosity. It's great, you're helping your family, but probably not, or doesn't really fit the mold for what we're talking about. What about the family that I kind of gave this one away already, right? Because I already told you an example of this. A family that donates all that stuff that didn't sell, right? If it didn't sell, it gets donated. We actually, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, we had some stuff they wouldn't take for whatever reason. So that it honestly went to the dump. So it didn't have any real value. We were just, you know, we were giving it, that's fine. So cassettes. This one is actually, it's a little bit of a twist. So if we remember the definition of generosity, right? Freely giving or sharing the things we value for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
So do you think, do the cassette tapes, do they benefit someone in Jamaica?
I think it is relative because if you look at the background of the people of Jamaica, some people, you know, all they want to do is music and probably don't have the means to buy the cassette tape. So somebody donating to them could be meeting a specific need. So I'll call that generosity.
So maybe, Charles, I think what I would say is that if it's valuable to the recipient, that's nice. I don't know that we would know that. Perhaps maybe a way to do that would be to be generous with that is to actually sell the cassettes and take the money and give that. You know, and it's you know, again, if they're a music audio file or whatever, and they want those cassettes, that's great. But that would have to be kind of a special situation. So, and remember, so our focus is really going to be on being generous, not just giving. And so one last time, our definition: freely giving or sharing things we value for the benefit of others. So we like to do multimedia here. You guys can kind of tell. So we're going to show you another video. This is called, we call this the Man in the Street video. And just see what you think. We'll talk, and then we'll talk about what you see on the video.
Well, generosity to me is being able to give up something that's important to you, or give up your time and go and help someone else out, whether that be something tangible like money or something, you know.
Generosity to me is giving either your time, you can give somebody giving anything to someone for a fee.
What I do with like giving something back for what you get.
I'd say generosity is characteristic that more people should probably have, because they're really bad to a lot of people.
Generosity is giving to others and helping other people. I can't.
Generosity is giving to other people when you don't need to necessarily, just kind of out of your heart. You just giving out something to someone else because you think you should. Under certain circumstances, yes. It depends on the situation. Sometimes I'm not as generous as I want to be. I think I'm kind of generous, but I could improve. I would consider myself a pretty generous person. You know, growing up in a family with a younger brother, I did take a lot of time to share things with him.
I am. I give a lot to my family, and I give my time to my church and to some different charities that I can.
Yeah, I have been all my life. I'm trying to get back to the homeless. As soon as I get it going, I'll get it going.
I think I'm a generous person because I tend to share with my friends a lot, and I'm not very selfish when it comes to my belongings.
Yeah, I think so. I like helping other people and giving other people.
Yeah, I would consider myself a generous person. If I were to see, you know, one of my friends or a family going through something tough or need help, I definitely would go out of my way and help them with that.
So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on that? Think about the mom that shares with her family. Comments? You know, I think a lot of people had some of the pieces of this. And I think one of the great things that I believe about this class is that it makes us think about it and makes us be intentional about thinking what is generosity. And also the question of, am I a generous person? So again, we want to ignite that generosity, ignite that passion so that you can be generous. So that when somebody says, are you a generous person? We all want to say yes to that question. And what I hear in a lot of those folks is yes, but. And so again, and look, we're all there. We've all been there. I get that. But I think the point of it really is again, thinking about it so that you can be intentional, so that you can make an impact on the world is really what we want to kind of be thinking about in this context. So, all right, shift gears a little bit. I'm gonna use a Bible verse. Comment? I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget to look up and see if, okay, we'll just keep going. 2 Corinthians 8:2-3. Though they have been going through much trouble and hard times, their wonderful joy and deep poverty have overflowed in rich generosity. For I can testify they gave not only what they could afford, but far more, and they did it of their own free will. You know, in a lot of ways, this is kind of, it's again, a restatement of the GU definition of generosity. So when we think about it, we don't really know, although the context isn't shown, this is actually, Paul is referring to the Macedonians. So what were some of the characteristics of the Macedonians? So I'm going to go back to that verse so you got it up in front of you. So they were going through hard times. They still had a wonderful joy. And that seems kind of inconsistent sometimes, right? But I can tell you that, again, having been around the world, the first time that we went to Brazil, I was amazed by people living along the river that was basically a subsistence economy. If they didn't catch it, they didn't eat that day, but they had a tremendous joy. And they were generous. They give you whatever they had, or they share whatever they did have when we came to visit. So they had rich generosity, deep poverty, and wonderful joy. And then again, they gave more than they could afford, and they did it freely. So again, I think it's a great another great illustration of what generosity can be like. And again, many times we think about it as it relates to money, and we're going to talk a little bit later. It's not just money. We've talked about time and talents and all of that kind of stuff. And so we can give in many, many different ways. Have you ever been in a place in your life where you've seen that, that deep poverty and rich joy at the same time? Where have you seen that?
Can you ask the
Honestly-
question one more time?
Yeah, so have you been in a place in your life where you've seen or experienced somebody that's having deep poverty and wonderful joy at the same time?
Yes. At church and at my job, it's a nonprofit for underprivileged children. But they have such joy and gratitude in their hearts with the smallest of things. Like it convicts me, you know, like, man, I take things for granted, the smallest things for granted. And they don't have much, but what they have, they're so appreciative of it. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, kids are a great example, Block. I think anywhere in the world, they just they can find joy in almost anything. Do you think, guys, do you think you have to be wealthy in order to be generous?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
That was like the gimme putt question for tonight, right? That was the easy one. Yeah, you don't. I mean, you know, one of the other Bible verses, you know, the one about the widow with giving just whatever she has, right? And so again, she was certainly not wealthy, but she could certainly be generous. So we're going to skip now, or we're going to, I'm going to say transition now to finding your passion. You'll hear me talk a lot about this, and hopefully it doesn't get redundant for you. But again, I really think this is super, super critical to create, again, a lifestyle and a habit around being generous. And so what we're going to do is let's take a break or a second here and identify types of people that are needing generosity. Who needs generosity? You know, and you could probably say all of us, but think specific people, think specific groups of people that might need or benefit from our generosity. So take a couple of minutes and write a couple down.
Bill, I have a good ones. For me, I feel the homeless and I mean, obviously the immigrants. For me, the two people that need more generosity right now.
Yeah.
Single moms, orphan kids, and also unbelievers, you know, just being generous with your time to share with them love and compassion.
That's great.
The sick and those on drugs, like
Definitely. You know, there's a lot, and so, you know, the needs are many, right? And so, you know, certainly, you know, Marco touched on people that are living in poverty, you know, whether it's homelessness or a lack of access to, you know, good food or clean water. You know, something we you know, right along with that is people who are sick. And so, you know, and I guess we really could put, we could put addictions in this, right? Whatever the addiction is, you know, those people need help. People that are oppressed, dealing with, you know, racism or human rights violations. You know, we're certainly blessed to live in this country where we might not always all get along, but you know, we don't have to worry about armed gangs, you know, roaming our neighborhoods, generally speaking, right? You know, and let's take it a step further, right? People that don't have a loving family, you know, are you know, feeling alone, depressed? You know, we're going to talk later on in the class about, you know, the rates of depression and the way society is dealing with it today, and how difficult it really is if you're in that bucket and by yourself. You know, people affected by a disaster, as we saw just a couple of weeks ago with Hurricane Ida, that, you know, continued, you know, that kind of southern Louisiana, New Orleans through Baton Rouge area just continues to get pummeled by the storms that are coming in. So again, this next one, it's maybe doesn't fit the same category, but people who need skills. So again, you know, by an accident of birth, I grew up in New Jersey. I had a great school system to go to. I learned how to read, you know, and all of that. There are a lot of people in the world that don't have those advantages. And then Blanca mentioned people who need spiritual guidance, right? And I think all of these things are around people that are living in need. So look at these, and these are just general categories, right? So you might be very focused on one particular group of people, or you know, it might be homeless children, or it might be, you know, teenagers with a drug addiction problem, or whatever the case might be. But look at some of these things as a way to, again, develop that passion. And so why do I keep talking about that? It's so important, because if you're not passionate, you're not going to dig in. And if you're not going to dig in, how can you really be truly generous with your time? And, you know, I describe some of it as it's almost unnatural. It's like, I just can't help but talk about it. Hey, I need you to help me with this. So, you know, again, I mentioned you know, the family, the single moms that we've been working with here in town. We're working through a nonprofit, basically called XPOW. It's the Exponential Power of Women. I just get to drive and carry stuff, but it's a bunch of women here in Allen got together and said, look, we can make a difference on this. And so, you know, it's easy to be able to help when you find out about a mom with two 12-year-old kids whose dad has left them, and they got evicted on literally Christmas Eve, right? And so you're like, you got to do something. And so you develop a passion around it. And you're like, I think some of our friends now run from the room screaming, right? They're like, oh no, yeah, Bill and Julie need some help getting some food for some families. You know, we ended up doing, I think, 4 food drops that day. And so develop a passion. It becomes an unnatural affliction that you want to just continue to go after. And so again, from a GU perspective, you know, we really want to focus on people in need. So I will tell you that some of these avoid when you're doing your GU research. Again, animals, political causes, the environment, pure medical research. But there's even I'll say a twist on this, right? We would look at an organization that, for example, might be supporting disabled veterans with service dogs, right? So that kind of animals, but it's really supporting people. So again, we really want you to focus on developing knowledge and a position around an organization that's helping people. So any comments or questions? So I kind of said this already, really, that passion is that powerful or compelling emotion. It goes beyond what other people might seem normal. It compels you to action, and you want to take action. That's what passion's all about. So, you know, we're going to kind of shift gears here, talk a little bit about talking a little bit about the individual exercise of spend some time thinking this week about people that you're passionate about. And next week we'll talk about that. So this is kind of the homework piece, right? Select one, select two, why you're passionate. You know, it could be, I was homeless when I was a kid. I lived in my car for 8 months. It could be, you know, I came and had to experience a new culture, and that was really, really hard, especially not having family around, whatever the case might be. But think about the types of people that you're passionate about, that you might want to work with, and be a part of all of that. So next week, I'll ask a few of you to share if you want to. So think about that. Again, you'll get copies of the slides. The other thing is I will also send you guys, and again, it's on the GU website, a copy of the class handout. So make sure you get a chance to go through that and familiarize yourself with what's in there. And so again, so we're going to think about people that compel you to be generous to action. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then finally, by week 4, we want you to watch this Poverty Inc. video. I think it's about an hour. I think it will open your eyes to, I'll say, good intentions gone bad. And so again, there's links on the GU website as to how to get it. I think it's on like Netflix, and it might be on Apple TV, and there's a couple of free ways to watch it as well. But definitely worth the time. I watch it every time I'm teaching a class, just to kind of remind me and make sure that I'm remembering stuff right. But yeah, so that's those are the things we want to think about for next week. So again, think about people that can compel you to action. Share if you want to next week, go through the GU handout, and then watch the Poverty Inc. video. And again, there's some questions that we'll ask you to send in to us, throughout the class, but watch that by week 4, because we're going to discuss it in some detail on week 4. I think the last slide, look at that. That was the last slide. All right, folks, thanks for hanging in there. Any questions or comments?
Super quick regarding the handout. So because my internet's down, I haven't been able to pull that up as we're going along. I have been taking notes. Is that something you want us to turn in? If so, I can go back and fill it out. But I just wanted to check on that.
No, I think we're okay for right now. I mean, there's a couple of things that a lot of this stuff that's in there, Emily, is really just for your notes, as opposed, the requirements for class. Yes, I'm going to ask you to give us the worksheet on the Poverty Inc. video, and then again, it's the documentation or the work around the grant proposal. Okay, so, and again, we'll be talking much more about that in the coming weeks.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Well, again, guys, thanks for hanging in there. Dan, thank you for hanging in there.
You're welcome. Thank you for a good class.
And if you all have any questions, again, I think you have 2 emails from me now, right? I have a GU email and then my work email. Either one of them is fine, but I will get off all the stuff we talked about getting over to you guys here. Probably do it in the morning.